do a quick homebrew Wednesday. Hopefully this will be up before the end of the week. May not. It's kind of a pre-Christmassy one. Just a couple of things that I wanted to sort of say in the run-up to Christmas. I've started doing my beer advent calendar. This year I didn't really buy as many kind of rare beers, if you like, from kind of my local beer shop. I kind of went mainly for the supermarket because when I went to Tesco recently, they had a lot more beers, than ever that I haven't had. I think I've got about 13 beers in total that are ones I haven't actually had before. Some haven't been great, I have to admit. Some of the Christmas ones, the ones from Thwaites, I think it was OMG, Grumpy something, and then the You'll Love It or something, they were quite disappointing. For me, a lot of the breweries around Christmas time, I'm sure they have their own same recipe that they use for another beer that they, generic beer. Shepherd Neame are known for this. I'm sure they just do a beer, come a certain night, like recently in Lidl they had a Burns beer. That just tasted like one of their other beers with maybe a little bit of extra crystal malt or something, just to say it was a different recipe, if you like, and they stick a different label on it and it's a new beer. But whereas there's never really anything different about a lot of their beers. Their one saving grace of recent is the Shepherd Neame Double Stout. That is amazing. I love that beer. Can't find enough of it. Lidl had it for about £1. Had loads of it, then sold out. A lot of the other supermarkets don't seem to have it, but it's a really, really nice stout, one that I'd love to replicate. But I find generally a lot of their beers to be quite samey. There's not really a lot in them most of the time, which is a bit disappointing. And it's same instead of breweries at Christmas. You get like a festive beer, and I think like the Thwaites one, it said it contained the essence of Christmas or something, and it was just a bland beer. There was nothing kind of exciting about it. And I think if you're going to tout it as being a Christmas beer, it's got to have something a little bit different, or some sort of kind of even like cinnamony or mince pie sort of character, something that encapsulates what most people think of as Christmas, rather than just a bog standard bit with an extra bit of something else added to it just to sell it. It's kind of quite disappointing. Anyway, that aside, yeah, I've done the advent calendar where I just got a beer every day on the run to Christmas, and on Christmas Day I'm going to go for one special beer. I haven't bought it this year. I've actually had this beer for about possibly 9 months. I did intend to drink it on my daughter's 5th birthday, but never got round to it, so I'm going to crack it Christmas Day. And everyone up to it, it's just been a supermarket one. Probably the one that I'm most excited about, I think Harry Brew managed to get his hands on them as well, it is from, I think it's Thwaites anyway, I think. It's there. I'm not even sure now, I can't find out where it says it on there, but the Crafty Dan series, where like a lot of the big breweries are creating their own craft beers, if you like, but those ones actually sound quite interesting. That was only £6, so that's £2 for each of the little bottles. Shame that they're 330s, but that's all I could get. Had some good beers from Green King. They've been quite good. They were 330s again. Read a lot of people slating them on Twitter and things like that, but if some of the bigger breweries are doing sort of like what they consider craft beers, and they're a little bit different and they are a bit more hoppy, and you can get them in the supermarkets, I think it is a good thing, because one, for us, we can get it in the supermarket, and two, for the people that haven't sort of ventured out into beer shops and that, you're getting to try something a little bit different than the normal stuff that's on the shelves, the same old stuff that's churned out. It's refreshing to see something that's quite nice. And the really nice one I had from Green King was the one that had like a jasmine tea in it, and it like a green tea type thing. And I'm not a lover of green tea, but that one was really quite nice. It had a real kind of flavoursome to it. And I just had the Bad Wolf, I think it is tonight, their IPA. And that was nice. It wasn't like, I think a lot of people go in expecting that in-your-face American IPA. I mean, it said it had 7 different types of hops, but I think it was quite toned down. They hadn't gone too mad on it, but it was still a really, really nice beer, especially for something that you can just walk into Tesco and get. You're not gonna go into a bottle shop and pay £3-4 for a bottle. I have bought a load of Thornbridge beers because they had a free delivery at one point. So I've got about 12, I think it's like 12 beers. I had one of theirs the other night, which was called Charlie Brown, which was a peanut butter brown ale, and it was amazing. I've seen a couple of peanut butter beers sort of floating around, and I've wanted to try one just to see how sort of peanutty it is, and I think that one, it's the only one I've had so far, is really hit the nail on the head. And there is this, I think it's called like PB2 or something. You get like a powdered peanut butter, but the way they describe on the bottle how they do it was slightly different. I think they use green peanuts in maturation tanks and whatnot. But a lot of homebrewers seem to use this powdered peanut butter, and I wouldn't mind sort of, you know, having a go at creating my own one. But this one was really, really nice. It had the nuttiness of peanuts without being kind of sickly sweet. You know, I imagine that most of them would be sort of like a bit too much, but this was, it's hard to explain unless you have a bottle. It was a truly nice beer. I'm kind of hoping, this is a shout out to Uncle Jonah if he's watching, if he does he normally does the 12 beers of Christmas, I think it is leading up to Christmas. I don't review all mine because I just couldn't be doing a video every day, it's too much. I'll just stick a photo on Facebook and be done with it. But he normally does the 12 beers of Christmas. I'm not sure if he will be, but it'd be good if he got the supermarket ones actually, because he's kind of a big advocate of all the supermarket beers, and considering there's a lot of new supermarket beers out there, be a good, you know, good one to go for. I'd love to hear his opinion on some of the beers. A lot of them do seem to be aimed towards the American style, and I know he's not a big fan of that, but you know, it'd be good nonetheless. A lot of them are quite toned down. Two I had from Sharps, they were really good. They're kind of along the line of using New World hops. They were quite nice as well. I've just supped my latest beer kit that I've done. I've done a review that's going to be up on a separate video. The Galaxy Delight kit from Malt Miller, really nice. It's not going to last long. I'm glad I kegged some of it for Christmas, so it's going to be real good. I had a beer mail. A chap called Stephen Wells has sent me a bottle of his Punky IPA that he did. I'm going to do it in another video. I'm just letting it settle for a little bit. It's only come through a couple of days ago, so I don't want to, you know, chuck it straight in the glass and it's all stirred up. So I'll be reviewing that in a couple of weeks. What else? Stouts. That's my thing at the moment. Hamworth Home Brews kind of really got me onto stouts. I think mainly because the only stout that I've ever brewed is from a kit. I still, you know, think that you can't get a good dark beer from a kit unless you add a lot of other stuff to sort of hide the taste. I had a kit, the Triple Tykes from Bulldog, I think it is, the other day. I opened the bottle the other day, it's still rank. I hate that beer. I think for me, light beers, pales, any hoppy beer, and a beer that contains a lot of the hop packets, or you add your own hops, the dry hopping and that, to mask the kit flavour. I'm not saying kits are bad, but for me, you know, I eat my hat when I say this, because, you know, I said with Hamworth Home Brew a long time ago, I'd never get, you know, taste that kit taste that he could taste when he could detect a kit, but I can taste it now. And I open a kit sometimes and I think, that's a kit beer. And I think it's more, you notice it's so much more in a darker beer, and there's something about, I don't know what it is, if it's the yeast that you get in these kits, and I wouldn't say it always is that, because sometimes I've changed the yeast in a darker kit and I get this a taste in the back of my mouth that tells me that it's a kit beer. The lighter beers, like the Golden Stag, that's like the holy grail of kits for me still. It's been great, you know, it's like almost like the benchmark for kits for disguising the kit taste, if you like. You probably couldn't tell, most people couldn't tell it was a kit, you know. That was a really nice beer, but darker beers I think suffer the fate of, you know, you can detect it more. So leading on to what I was going to get to is that I decided it's about time I started brewing a few of my own all grain stouts. I've had some of the best stouts from Hamworth Home Brew. The man loves these stouts, that's his thing. I had his like oatmeal stout, he did a porter. They've just been great, and I just thought, you know, maybe I should just try and brew mine. I kind of, it's not a style I tend to brew. I'm kind of been stuck in my ways of doing sort of pales, a couple of bitters, and mainly kind of like IPAs, but I'm verging that, especially in the winter months, that I want that darker beer, that, you know, especially after having the Shepherd Neame double stout, you know, I need to try something else. So I've just recently done a milk stout. Just got the recipe off Beersmith. Did that. Not too sure how well that's fared. There's lactose in it and whatnot, but I'm not sure it's fermented out as well as it could have. So it might be kind of really kind of light in alcohol, but I don't know how well it's going to balance with the fact that it's got unfermentables in it. It might be sort of overly sweet, but we'll see. I've just brewed the dry stout from the Brew UK book. Phone Brew recommended that, so it's really good. But I'm going to chuck all that straight in a keg rather than bottle it. The fermentation's been crazy, just with SO4 yeast. I've got to admit, I did it no chill. I left it in the cube, and I didn't even rack it off the cube. It leaves little headspace, and it's quite risky because it's just going to spurt everywhere. But I just couldn't be bothered to take it out of that container, and I added the yeast straight to it, and I got about 3 wine bottles of like overspill from the blow off tube. It was just a mess. So I had prepared for it, and I knew it would happen, which led me on to previously I did a no chill with like some base malt that I had left over, a load of Simcoe hops. I think that beer's got infected. I don't know how. Not anything to say that no chill was bad, but I think what happened was I did the no chill here on the weekend, let it chill down. I left it all weekend, probably from Sunday through to a Tuesday. I went round to my mum's house. I thought I'd chuck it in a fermenter there and ferment it under my fermenting fridge, and it'd be alright. I'm not too sure if I was in a bit of a rush and I didn't sanitise the FV very well, but when I tasted it, I've had that taste once before when I had one other infection, and it tasted something weren't quite right, and a couple of floaties on the top looked a little bit odd. But for some reason I was just, rather than tip it, I bottled most of it and just thought, let's see how it peters out. It might have just been, it didn't taste great, it wasn't a sour taste, it was just something just didn't taste right about it. So I don't know, I've bottled some of it in the hope that maybe it'll turn good. If it don't, I think it was purely down to me. I don't think it was anything to suggest that no chill leads to infections or anything like that. It was just something I've done wrong somewhere. And not only that, the fermenter that I pitched it into is quite an old fermenter. I recently cleaned it and realised it was quite grubby, so I'm getting to the point where I think that's going to be turned into something else rather than a fermenter, because it's not worth the risk. I think that's pretty much it. I think I've waffled on quite a bit. Yeah, so stouts is my thing at the moment. I'm going to keep brewing a few stouts. I've got a lot of ingredients and hops that lean towards doing stouts. My next one, I think, probably in a couple of weekends' time, might even be over Christmas, it's going to be Irish Red Ale, I think. Going to lean towards a few of the dark ones, use up some of my Challenger and Fuggles. And not only that, they make it easy for brew day. Sort of, most of them are one addition, chuck it in at 60 minutes for bittering, sit back, go and do something else, straight into the no chill, job done, So, till next time, cheers.